From the West Coast, 2 races to go in the season. Portland International is the host for the penultimate round of this 7th Champ Car World Series campaign. I'm Rick James with Liv Hayward by my side. Liv, welcome to Oregon. Welcome to Portland. Championship implications on the line in what is a rain-soaked and drying racetrack.
Indeed, the Pacific Northwest weather has not disappointed today. Rain this morning means the track is still drying as drivers finish up their practice runs, and there may be a little bit more rain forecast as we get into today's race. It is currently Tucker Sawyer at the top of the board with 3 minutes left in practice for today's race, and it is a crucial event for the number 19. Situation is that Nicholas Pressey leads the points by exactly 55 with 2 races to go. It's the exact amount you can score at maximum in one race, which means as long as Pressey outscores Tucker Sawyer here tonight and that Christina Ryan does not leapfrog ahead as well, he will clinch the title a race early, and we head into Chicago land for the season finale with the number 1 on the nose cone of that 94 car.
2:30 remaining in this practice session, and then a 15-minute qualifying session. Plenty of time still for drivers to feel the racetrack, but when it's evolving like this, that's going to be difficult because the wet spots where you think you have no grip suddenly do have grip, and then the rumble strips, you don't know when they're going to get grip. Do we expect this track to be... I don't expect this track to be fully dry by the next 15 minutes by the end of qualifying. Because surely people are going to wait for that, aren't they? They're going to wait for the track to dry out as long as possible.
I mean, waiting isn't going to do that much because you need to have cars out on track to be working at the surface. There's a very wide, dry line. Most of the track is functionally dry, but there's a couple of awkward puddles that you might have to adjust your line slightly. Importantly, lap times currently are down into the 1-minute flats, which is about where we expect them to be in dry running. So while there are puddles on the edges of the track, and it could be treacherous if you end up running wide and into some of those sections, the qualifying line should be pretty much the same. And I'd expect us to maybe get into that 59-second window when drivers have it all out on the line.
$1:12. If you want to catch your favorite driver qualifying here, you better grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink, and then come back in just a moment. Qualifying in what is a sunny Portland, but what will be a rainy Portland too. Liv, we were talking earlier before we started the show. You said we should see rain in an hour?
We may see rain in an hour. We're not quite sure. The iRacing radars have gotten a little bit worse in the most recent update. You can't quite project as far ahead as you were able to before. So it's going to be a little bit of a question mark. I'm going to need you to keep an eye out on those screens as we head into qualifying to see how likely it is that another set of a weather system hits us.
Good to see George Ward out on the racetrack. When's the last time we had George Ward racing with us in that big pink machine? A sort of a rhetorical question, but if you want to find out, be my guest.
I'll find out. I mean, we did have a fair couple weeks off. Most recent race was over at Montreal, which...
was it that long ago? It feels like it was ages ago.
Just 2 races. Only missed the races at Nashville and California.
Okay, then I'm clearly not paying attention. Maybe I'll pay more attention in qualifying. Don't count on it. But practice is over. We're going to start 15 minutes of qualifying. 5-minute warm-up after our qualifying session, and then our race. Let's talk about the details of that race, Liv. How many laps are we in for? What are drivers going to expect fuel-wise?
So it is scheduled to be a 56-lap race. That means that it'll be just shy of an hour, maybe a little bit over that if we get that rain system approaching. And fuel window here, I think, is on the order of 15 to sort of 18 laps. which would make it a 3-stop race potentially. We'll see if any drivers can save for 2 as we get through the session. As for this qualifying session, of course, the format is 50 minutes. It's an open track. Drivers have as many attempts and as many tyre sets as they want to get the job done. But they are not allowed to reset back to the pit lane and continue. If they wish to pick up a spare car, they have to be able to bring the first car back to the pits to get those repairs done. Otherwise, they are going to be done with the session. So getting that banker lap in early is going to be very important, even if we're expecting a lot of track evolution with a very green track that still has that little bit of moisture left to be whipped away.
Bring on the rain. Send on the chaos. Let's go. 3 laps to go. It just needs to pour down rain in turn number 1, and let's see what happens.
That'd be very, very exciting. We'll ride on board a little bit higher up with Christina Ryan, our current 3rd place driver in the championship. Has 1 win on the season, a bit of an oval specialist, but needs a strong result on the road course. Needs to gain points on Prix to stay alive in the title fight. Saw that first chicane, a bit of a flick, similar to Monza turn 1, then an arcing, ever decreasing radius here through, I think, 3 and 4, down to 2nd gear, flip back to the left, and then take a little bit of this curb, power down as quickly as possible, because it's a long, flat-out run down towards the final chicane. This is where good push to pass would be used in race conditions. We don't have that in qualifying, of course. Brake almost at the latest possible. It could be a lift in qualifying trim on fresh tyres, just to get it hooked in for here. And then a little bit of oversteer. See, just tyres not quite in the window, maybe a little bit of moisture.
A little
coming
bit
through
of
the
oversteer.
final corner.
That was can we go back? That was a 4-wheel drift through that final corner. A little bit of oversteer. She held on though. Let's check this out. Man, she really got the raw end of the deal last week at Fontana as well. I was really rooting for her to have a top 5 finish. Let's check out this little bit of oversteer here. Oh, that was so good. Good job to hold on to it too on a wet racetrack. I absolutely love to see it. Just under 12 minutes to go now in the qualifying session. Rudy Valentin currently top of the tree. Tucker Sawyer in 2nd. We're going to be mentioning the championship race all night long, but to briefly cover it, as you put it so shortly ago, if Nick Pressey outscores Tucker Sawyer, he will be champion.
As long as Christina Ryan doesn't find a big result to move herself up in 2nd place and within 55 points.
Bring on the chaos.
If a Sawyer win here is essentially what he's targeting. Unfortunately, Rudy Valentin is looking to take that top spot away. 1 minute 0.
0.3 quicker than Tucker Sawyer. Where on earth does he get that kind of time?
It could be a little bit of track evolution. Could just be having the tires in the perfect window and being brave through that final sector. It's really the only thing I'd be thinking of. Although, in fact, what makes Tucker Sawyer's lap remarkable as we go on board, that is a primary compound tire on the number 19 car. Of course, rule.
Tucker's going to come out here and just destroy what Valentin put up then once he gets on the or no, did Tucker put his fast lap on reds?
No, he put his fast lap on primes. So
oh wow, okay.
He could sit now 3rd place. If he can hold on to that position, he might be happy sacrificing the qualifying position to put himself on a slightly better strategy. We'll see what he ends up opting for. But if Sawyer does go for the red compound tires into the rest of the qualifying session, then he could absolutely find time to get below that 1 minute mark and into pole position. Bryce Sosa comes through into 4th place, Emma Kruger into 5th behind as well. Both drivers are on alternates. Only Tucker Sawyer and Colin McDonough currently are running on that primary compound. He is pulling into the pit lane, so we'll see whether he makes that switch. But let's see what George Ward's able to do. Is about a second down as Rudy Valentine gets out of the way. Expect the 78 to pit this time for a fresh set of alternate tyres. Can Bid Pink find an improvement from 8th on the grid? This is the third lap of the run. We expect times to get quicker over a couple of laps as the tyres warm up, especially on a very cold track such as this one. Does he find anything? 400ths of a second, not enough for a positional gain.
Ninth quickest, Rudy Valentine still top of the tree with 8:50 and counting remaining in this qualifying session. Now, of course, all of this means absolutely nothing if the rain comes down and ruins everything that's going on. This first lap, though, going into turn number 1, is going to be so tight, as it normally is, because that second corner is sharper than the first. Now, it's a relatively short lap. It takes them 1 minute to get around this racetrack. It looks, I mean, by the map, it looks longer, but they just carry so much speed out of that sharp right-hander that it shortens the lap up so quick.
Yeah, it is a very tricky lap. Nicholas Pressey's just on fastest, has found it under that 1 minute barrier for the first time. Moves to provisional pole position, but we had an eye on Tucker Sawyer a few moments ago. He is back out on a fresh set of alternate compound tires. Let's see what the 19 can do. This first lap could still be a little bit cold on the temperatures and on the pressures, but maybe he can give us a show here. You see turn number 1 and 2. You're taking so much of that runoff. It's a little bit wet still on the inside, but you almost float over the top of it. There's that moisture down at turn 3 that he caught and got the oversteer on. So this is still a narrow track from those puddles on the far edges. Let's see whether he can still find that improvement.
Halfway through the qualifying session, Nick Pressey, top of the tree, 59.93. First driver to break that 1 minute barrier, and he's qualifying like he wants to put this championship to bed now before we go to Chicagoland next week. It's October 1st. Well, October 2nd, where you're at, Liv. It's ridiculous to think we started this campaign back in February.
Yeah, it has been a long run for sure. If you noticed, the number 94 machine now with pink accents for breast cancer awareness, I believe, as we're now in the month of October, of course. That car currently sits top of the board, and it does say he has one hand on the title, although these things can always change, and especially with how tough turn 1 is here to get clean. If I'm just pressing, I want to have as many cars as possible behind me and get the cleanest standing start that I can. He's got a very, very tough job ahead of him.
Lily Sharp just got within a tenth of him, 1 minute flat and 3/100ths. Nick Pressey with 59 and 93/100ths. Let's see, Rudy Valentine, 104.63 was his last time around, but 1 minute and 1 minute and 4/100. So he's right up there with Lily Sharp. Good to see some challengers to that expected top 5. Who else is here? Eli Sasek, Lilac Zier.
And there's Tucker Sawyer.
Hey,
Second lap, got the temperature in the tires.
54. It proved me wrong. 59.84 on reds. So now he has to start the race on these unless he goes faster on another compound, which isn't likely.
He does, but that might not be such a bad thing. Of course, we're thinking of it as a perspective of the red tires, I think, are definitely preferred here. I don't think the stint life is quite long enough to burn them out. And so you'd have to take a set of primaries at some point, unless, of course, you end up having to take a set of the wet weather tires instead. If there's rain on the horizon, then getting a primary stint out of the way doesn't help you because that compound change rule gets waived. So the alternates might be the best tire to run on if you're expected to get interrupted by that rainfall.
Oh, I'm excited for this race. Let's go. 4:40 to go. Yeah, 59.76. He just keeps getting faster. Tucker, quit burning the tires. Quit while you're ahead, my son. Nick Pressey last time around 102.24. He's got almost 2/10 to catch up to car 19. And Rudy Valentin still hanging in there. Half a second between first and fifth. Half a second between fifth and 10th. It checks out. Nice progression there. So just over 4 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The penultimate race of the season from Portland International. I'm Rick James, Liv Hayward by my side.
And these short laps are always so difficult in qualifying. You have to really treat them differently than you would a road course like, say, Road America. You have to be on full attack, because if you lose a couple of tenths through one corner with a slightly safer line, when that might normally not cost you a position at a longer track, it can cost you 2 or 3 at a place like this.
Nick Pressey, 59.92 his last time around. He went quickest, 52.76 to the American. How about Eli Sasek? Now goes into the silver medal slot, 59.88, 6/10 quicker than Brooklyn's Nick Pressey. And Rudy Valentin now beats Nick Pressey by mere 1/1000th, 59.92. He matches Pressey down to 1/100th of a second. And this is just natural progression. I don't think, Liv, this has anything to do with Pressey's performance or lack thereof. This is the track getting faster and less water on the racing surface.
Yeah, definitely track evolution is playing a part, but it is remarkable how close that top 5 is right now. All within 0.3 of a second. Second through fourth, separated by half a tenth behind Tucker Sawyer there. And Sasek find another improvement through on this time. Pressey's jumped up into second place as well. Just ahead of Eli Sasek. And Eli cannot find that improvement behind. Can Rudy Valentin, just taking a narrow line, might have burnt this one up just a little bit too much. And in fact, does find 5/1000ths of a second, but stays fourth fastest. This is a remarkable qualifying session. Tucker Sawyer is coming through turn 1 and 2 here as Valentin tries to not do a Grosjean. And he's taking a cooldown lap.
Don't you dare pick on Roman Grosjean. I will take zero Grosjean slander from you or anybody else.
I mean, he did have that rejoin at that very corner. If it wasn't that corner,
everybody has a mistake. Did Michael Schumacher not have his run-ins? Did he not try to fight a McLaren mechanic in Belgium where he almost got his head kicked in because that McLaren mechanic looked like 5 times his size? Did Ayrton Senna not dive his nose into corners? Did Max Verstappen never run his car wide? Did Dale Earnhardt never intimidate someone? I will hear no Grosjean slander. Everybody can have a fault.
Bryce Sosa is within half a second of your current leader and sits in 7th place in qualifying. Reigning champion Lyle Zier might only have that title for one more race. Sits 6th place. Lee Sharp, who was in 5th, a little bit too aggressive through the chicane. She might not be able to get that run back around, as this is going to be the final lap that she is going to get, and it's going to be a bad start to the lap as she comes back across the line. Nicholas Pressey flies through behind teammate. We'll see whether he has any response for Tucker Sawyer on his penultimate time by, and no, that was a warm-up lap. So what can he find? Christina Ryan sits in 8th place, following behind for that little bit of draft. But we're into the final 20 seconds of our qualifying session. Tucker Sawyer, after that cooldown lap, looking for more. Can he find it? He'll have one more after this. We'll see whether this first lap can be enough, and it's at 59.3. Puts half a second on the field. Talk about track evolution. Rudy Valentin will be the first car to see the checker here in qualifying. Finds an improvement, moves to second place, but I think he's done for the session. Now it's Lily Sharp coming through. We saw that spin on her previous lap. Has she managed to carry anything through to find an improvement, move into those front 2 rows? We'll see what she's able to find. And it's going to be a 59. It's going to be an improvement. It's not going to be enough, though. And Press also not able to find quite enough. And so with Lila Zir coming across the line, she finds no improvement. It is going to be that half a second gain from Tucker Sawyer to solidify pole position in what is a must-win race for the 19 crew.
Congratulations, Tucker Sawyer. We're going to talk to him after this qualifying session into the warm-up. Fans, it's only 5 minutes. It's not as long as you think. Grab a drink, a snack, sit your butt down, and don't move, because this first opening lap is going to be something you don't want to miss. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a bit.
We are back, and we have in the room here the 19 of Tucker Sawyer with a fantastic pole position there. That last lap was half a second faster. Was that track evolution, or did you just find the absolute limit of what you were able to push?
I'm pretty sure I just found the limit. I did see the top 5 were in the 59s, which was probably part to do with track position, but I was definitely pushing. My heart rate was pumping the entire time. Like, I felt like I was gonna have a heart attack, but I got it done somehow.
Of course, this is essentially a must-win race for you here. You now trail by 54 points with that pole position secured. How do you approach this race, starting for the pole position, knowing that rain could be a factor potentially, and knowing that Nicholas Pressey has to finish behind you to keep this title fight alive?
Well, I'm just gonna do the best I can, focus on running my race, and yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident when the rain comes, because I'm pretty decent in the rain for some reason. But yeah, I'm just gonna do the best I can, and yeah.
Well, fair enough. I won't hold you any longer. Best of luck tonight. That was Tucker Sawyer, your pole position driver for tonight's race. We are going to be back in just a few moments' time with the starting lineup for tonight's race at Portland.
Getting ready to roll these hot rods at iRacing's Portland with Rudy Valentin and Tucker Sawyer on row number 1. Talk about a championship climb for the hopefuls. Row number 2. We're going to find Nick Pressey, Eli Sasic lined up next to each other. A lot of work for the champion to try and put in. Looking into that third row of competition, you're going to have Lily Sharp, Lai Lack Zier in row number 3, followed by Bryce Saucier, Chris Ryan, one of the far but still in contention championship hopefuls. Row number 5, Emma Kruger, Big Pink George Ward, the rookie, rounding out the top 10, followed by everyone's favorite Argentine, Matias Elsiquiel Marcomini, starting next to Colin McDonough in that 12th position. Mo Perry and, well, no Mo Perry, I'm sorry, Mitch Semedo going to be starting in 13th. Mo Perry, unfortunately, not going to be part of this lineup here, and the cars shall grid, and it's only a matter of time. The penultimate race of the season, and what could and ultimately will define this championship. Cars are on the grid. And now we wait. Live over under. How many cars wreck in turn 1?
I wouldn't be surprised if we have some cars not make it to turn 1 again. It is a damp grid. It seems like the grid is pretty condensed to that left-hand side where it should be driest, but this could be tough for a car on the inside like Tucker Sawyer to get away cleanly and make the move through turn 1. He needs that launch to keep the cars behind at bay. It's going to be
cars are going to get into gear. We're gridding, we're getting ready. Cars are in first gear. They wait for the lights. Green flag is out, and it's going to be a rush into turn number 1. 56 laps of competition underway. Tucker Sawyer will lead them all into the first corner. 2-3 cars already crashing down that front straight, and it looks like Lily Sharp is one of them. One car already going around in turn number 1. Big Pink George Ward involved. A couple other cars slow. They've taken a knock. Sawyer leads. Pressey in second. Yeah. Valentin third. Go on, Liv.
Chaotic start. We'll have a look back at just a moment. But as we weave through, Tucker Sawyer has a 1.2 second lead already. Remember, no push to pass on lap number 1 as Marcomini states out wide in the background there. It is so tight between this midfield group, but Sawyer has done the hard work and is currently breaking away on lap number 1. He'll have the push to pass when he gets to the line. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts using it to try and build that gap. We click off lap number 1. There'll be another point for Tucker Sawyer, I believe, for leading that opening lap. Mo Perry is going to roll off pit lane, it looks like, but will have to start a lap down after some connection issues. And what a chaotic start to this race. Let's go back and have a look at exactly what went wrong in the background of that standing start.
Keep your eyes at the back here. So it looks like Lily Sharp just did not go. George Ward, Colin McDonough trying to go everywhere. Nowhere for Lily Sharp. Colin McDonough tried to fly into space. Big Pink is going to have a spin here. There's everyone's favorite Argentine, Marcomini. There's George Ward now just trying to get his car back into shape as Lily Sharp narrowly avoids him. Disaster for these drivers. Tucker Sawyer on the... Have another look here, Liv. Big Pink. And I don't think anybody did anything wrong here, really. Sharp missed the start. Colin tried to squeeze into a gap that was always closing. George was not obligated to make any sort of space for Colin McDonough. I don't even think George knew Colin was there. He was trying to focus on not hitting anybody else. Cold tires, a wet racetrack, all of that combines into this. And Colin, I think, is just struggling to get moving again after trying to go skyward. Meanwhile, car 71, Lily Sharp, she's moving, Liv, but 2.5 seconds off the top 10.
I'm surprised she managed to survive that initial incident. This was lap number 2 coming through the sweeper of turn 4. Just loops it around. And still rolling, though, which is, again, quite fortunate for the number 71, as McDonough is down on pit lane, unfortunately, following that opening lap contact. Lap 3 already in the books. It is a short lap through here. Bryce Saucer, it looks like, may be having some issues potentially. Let's have a look back at exactly what happened to the number 7 car. And just skates out wide. Is the contact with the wall? No, there is not. Great job from the 07 to keep the car in one piece, but that does knock him down a couple of positions. As we finish up lap number 3, he's now down in the 6th place behind Emma Kruger and Eli Sasek. It's a bit of a top 3 breakaway, but crucially, Sawyer is building that gap to Pressy and Valentin. And in fact, this is remarkable. Pressy has used a ton of push to pass already. He's only had it for 3 laps and he's used more than 20 seconds. Tucker Sawyer up front has not used a drop. He is saving it for a rainy day. And, well, you wouldn't really want to use it in the rain. The wheel spin would be a little bit tricky.
Tucker Sawyer not using any of that so far. He just went fastest, 59.82 seconds. He's the first driver to break that 59-second barrier in the race. Nick Pressy, first driver to break the 59-second barrier in qualifying. Half a second between Nick Pressy and Rudy Valentin sitting in third. Chris Ryan, Lilac Zier, they're in some close battles as well. And Tucker Sawyer, who's on those red tires, Liv, has broken out to a 2.6 second advantage. Given that he's on the softer, less durable compound, should he be pressing the race car this hard?
I mean, everyone's on the same tire, and the stints are not particularly long, is the crucial thing. I think it's fair enough to be trying to push as much as possible. And if not only that, but the fact that he has the fastest lap is going to score him some additional points. It's going to be 1 additional point for the championship, and he needs as many points as possible. If he can get the pole, the fastest lap, and lead the most laps, that in itself is a 5-point swing to a driver like Nicholas Pressy. So the more he can do, the better. There's had a couple of incidents a little bit further back, though. First of all, Colin McDonough, who was already a couple laps down from that first lap incident. Let's have a look at this incident for the number 39. Just spins, oversteers and corrects. You see in the background, finds the barrier there. And unfortunately, he had used that fast repair already. So that could be day done for the 39. Then we have another incident here. Emma Kruger, who started in 9th place. Season 3 champion. Getting heavy on the curbs. Not getting it quite turned in. And clipping that bump in the far side curb. And also losing a front wing, unfortunately. She is also towed back to pit lane. So we are down to 10 cars now on the lead lap from the 13 that started this race.
7 laps about to be completed at Portland International. Tucker Sawyer leading. Let's go back to Lilac Zier and Christina Ryan. They are just nose to tail, side by side, down the straight into the right-hander. 3 cars involved with the Argentine Marco Mini behind Ryan, and they narrowly escape with all their race cars in one piece.
Yeah, and this is a talented group here, of course. Lilac, reigning champion from Season 6, had to run a part-time schedule this year. Christina, the Season 2 champion, and still in mathematical contention to make it the first 2-time championship. But she's under big pressure from Marcomini. Now, someone has to back out into this chicane. It's very difficult to make an overtake stick here. In the end, the 77 does decide discretion is the better part of valor. But they are fighting, and they're falling away now from Lilac Zier ahead in that number 89 machine. Looks like we had an incident further back as well. We'll touch to it very quickly for Bryce Saucer, the second one of these we've seen for Nicholas Pressy's teammate. Not really in contention to play rear gunner, unfortunately, and catches that puddle in turn 3. Very lucky to keep the rear wing attached as he recorrects and gets going once again. This wet track is playing tricks on these drivers, and we could have some full-on rainfall still to come.
If that rain comes, it's going to be fun. Well, fun for you and me, not fun for everybody else out on the racetrack. Tucker Sawyer's extended his advantage to over 3 seconds on Nick Pressey, who still has Rudy Valentin bearing down his neck. Eli Sasek, not far off that battle. Matias Marcomini is still behind Chris Ryan. That's 6th place on the line. And the Argentine is up 4 places from where he started. 9 laps underway at Portland. Liv, what have we even learned so far? Have we learned anything?
Well, we've learned that Tucker Sawyer is very good on the road courses, although we did already know that one, and that even though I think it's not rained for maybe 4 or 5 hours here up in Oregon, it is a very tricky track, and it's that narrow racing line that's going to make moves a little bit more difficult to make than they otherwise would be, especially through that flipped section. We saw Valentin get a little bit out of shape there on this most recent run by. Drivers have to be careful because one mistake can easily send you into a barrier and make your race a whole lot tougher. Valentin goes for the inside. There was the lapped car of Lily Sharp just ahead. And in fact, Pressey is going to fall now behind Eli Sasek through turns 1 and 2. So that's 2 spots lost for Nicholas Pressey. That was all at once. Let's have a second look back at that incident just to see how our championship leader lost those positions. As to run out the final corner, Valentin, presumably on the push to pass through here, goes for a lunge. You see Sharp come out the pit lane, a teammate of Pressey, and he just doesn't quite get it turned in. Just goes straight on the way in, has to pinch super narrow, and Sasa just swoops right around the outside of turn number 2. Disaster for Nicholas Pressey, but not as bad as we have now for Marcomini, who we mentioned was fighting with Christina Ryan, has had an incident down here at, I believe, turn number 6, and spins on those puddles through, and is now fallen back to the fight with George Ward and Bryce Sosa.
How far are they expected to go on fuel or tires?
15 laps, I think, is very easily doable. If they want to stop this race, they have to get to 19. So we'll see if anyone is able to go quite that far. 18 laps would maybe be possible still, but of course a standing start doesn't burn any fuel on pace lap. So you'd think they'd want to try and go for the 19 stint immediately if they are on a fuel safe strategy. Tires will.
With somebody like
tires
Tucker,
will go as well. You don't need to worry about tires here.
with somebody like Tucker Sawyer, who's already extended his run to 14, surely it's not a fuel saving strategy for him. So we should expect Tucker to be in sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think so. I think Tucker is probably the sort of driver who is going to try and do this on raw pace. I don't know if 19 laps is possible. If I had to guess, I would say probably not. Although I've seen crazier things happen with fuel saves in these cars. And I think anyone who has watched Scott Dixon has seen that as well. The real question, and I don't need your help on this one, Rich, is you have the eyes on the radar. Does it look like we're going to see that rain fall in the next 45 minutes before the checkered flag flies here?
No. Just absolutely not. I'm looking at it right now, and there's 2 bands of rain, one south of the racetrack, one north of the racetrack, and they're both going to miss the racetrack by some miles. Although the wind is blowing to the east at 7 miles an hour, so it is possible that turns 5 and 6 might see rain before the final corners of the racetrack do. But yeah, just looking at the radar now, it looks improbable, but not impossible. I will tell you this. There is a 60% chance of rain in the next 45 minutes and it's taken us 12 minutes to run 13 laps. So by my math, if the rain does come, it's going to come in the very final laps of this race. That being said, I know absolutely nothing about the weather.
So that indicates to me that drivers are going to have to consider when they take that primary compound stint, because it doesn't seem like the rain is going to be the factor that bails them out. My question now becomes, do you take that primary stint early so that you can finish on the alternate tyre if we do get a slightly more moist racetrack as Nicholas Pressey slides on that very same puddle in turn 3 that caught out Lily Sharp? Does a great job holding onto it, but has lost about 5 seconds in the catch and recovery of that slide. So it's now well out of contention for that top 3 group, is now falling towards Lilac Zir and Christina Ryan, 2 champions, and the driver with one hand on the trophy is sliding back towards them now.
It's not the first time we've seen Nick Pressey make a mistake. It won't be the last. We've also seen him make miraculous recoveries from mistakes as well. So I don't think this is going to be too big of a problem for Nick if it doesn't happen again.
Yeah,
but that's a big if.
And the truth is, damage limitation is absolutely a viable way of running this race, as Pressey is now back behind teammate Lily Sharp, who is 1 lap down after an early pit stop. If we assume Sawyer wins the race and picks up maximum points, which is 55, Pressey finishing 4th would be 32 points in the 94 column, which means he would enter Chicagoland next week with a 32-point advantage over the 19. Would he like more? I'm sure he would, but at the same time, it would then require him to only score 23 points in that final round to clinch the title without worrying about what Sawyer does. As if Sawyer does maximum again, which he's not won an oval race before, so it'd be difficult to ask for that. If Pressey can finish here, he would only need, 8th place over at Chicagoland to clinch the title. Guaranteed. So he just needs to make sure he doesn't finish last, basically. He needs to keep the car on the track. And even if Lilac Zir gets around, as Eli Sassett comes into the pit lane, in fact, Valentin and Sassett both pit after 15 laps, so they're on a 3-stop strategy. That confirms that Pressey temporarily back up into 2nd place. Off again, and that might move Lilac Zir ahead. Yes, it does.
What is Nick Pressey doing?
He's struggling. It's a difficult track. It's difficult conditions. He needs to hold his head and keep control of this race, because he just needs to minimize the damage to make his job as easy as possible over at Chicagoland. Tucker Sawyer also into pit lane now, so it looks like drivers all going for that 3-stop strategy. If anyone's going to differ, it's going to be Lilac Zir, and the fact that she pulls in here means that looking at 3 stops for everyone. The question now is, what tyres do the drivers pit onto? Everyone who made that stop last lap, Valentin, Sassett, Ryan, Ward, and Sharp, and Ward, all stay on the alternate compound for this next run. Tucker Sawyer, who's just leaving pit lane now, also on the alts and is well ahead of Valentin and Sassett behind. So no one's taken that gamble onto primes just yet, except for 89 Lilac Zir is getting that bot checked right now.
"17 laps. Another look at the radar, Liv, and the rain approaches, but again, it's still on trajectory to miss the racetrack. We'll see. We'll genuinely see what happens. Tucker Sawyer is leading by 2.5 seconds now. Rudy Valentin has really closed that gap. Looking further down the running order, Bryce Saucier, George Ward, they're swapping positions right there. How about Big Pink on the outside while the sun shines on him? Chris Ryan and Bryce Saucier behind them.
Yeah, and Saucier, of course, on those fresh tyres just out of the pit lane. They're going to take a while to warm. You can see how much Ward and Ryan are pulling away on this lap because they pit that lap earlier. and have already gotten through this warm-up phase. He's 2 seconds behind. Of course, he'll have the better tyres once they're warm, and they'll be a little bit of a lap pressure, but you see Ryan on lap 2 still weaving to try and get heat in. It is a long warm-up, especially here at Portland. And so that is going to be a crucial factor. The undercut is not necessarily very powerful because that tyre warm-up is going to hurt you a lot on the outlap. You can cover off the move from the car behind quite easily as George Ward goes to the move on Christina Ryan into turn number 1. Goes far to the inside and gets the overtake done on the Season 2 champion. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Tucker Sawyer getting through that tyre warm-up has allowed Rudy Valentin to close right in. And right now, Valentin is Nicholas Pressi's best friend in the whole world. If Valentin gets ahead, that takes 10 points off Tucker Sawyer's total. It means Pressy needs 10 fewer points over at Chicagoland to try and clinch this one.
Pressy's setting himself up for the end of this championship. Despite the mistake that he's made, he's doing well. He's keeping himself in contention. It is just damage control for Nick Pressy. Valentin did go quickest, 59.76. We know Valentin's not in it for the championship, obviously. He's in it for the win. So we'll see just how aggressive Rudy Valentin decides to get with Nick Pressy's rear end, and we'll see if he just gets any further closer to this Brooklyn pilot. Meanwhile, Liv, Tucker Sawyer is only 1 second further ahead of Rudy Valentin. It's getting real close at the front.
It is, but this is an important factor. He's now starting to use that push pass. He realizes the danger. He's using it to help cover that margin. Depot line is 0.8 of a second. Rudy Valentin was actually 0.3 slower last time by, so Tucker Sawyer's pulled back away. Now those tyres are up to temperature, and he might be able to fend off the number 78 through the rest of this cycle. Martin Meany was back down on pit lane. We'll have a look now at exactly why that was. A couple of incidents, unfortunately, for the number 17. He's already lost the wing, in fact. Let's go back a little bit further.
Well, there's your problem.
How he lost the wing, and he's on the way
right
out of the pit lane here. I guess on the puddles, on the pit exit, spins it around. But how did he lose the wing? That's how! Clips George Ward.
Oh my gosh,
even.
he almost got into George. Well, he did make contact with George, but now the question is, how heavy was that damage with George Ward? George is 1 second ahead of Chris Ryan. Tucker Sawyer just put in his fastest lap of the race, 59.68 seconds. And more importantly, Liv, he's now on his 20th lap of competition, and he's 1.25 seconds ahead of Rudy Valentin. Mo Perry is in, and Tucker Sawyer did come in on lap 16, so Lily Sharp is the only driver who hasn't pitted further than lap number 8. Sawyer is on the red tire, and it looks like he's ready to break out this big lead again.
Oh, Bryce Sosa has come back to live pictures, doing a little bit of rallycross there. Keeps a hold of it. Tucker Sawyer was absolutely flying, like you were saying. Has those warmed up tires. Is being a little bit careful over those curves. We saw that incident from Mo Perry just a moment ago, getting into the wall through that section. As for how George Ward is doing, he has been absolutely flying in the most recent laps. He's ahead of Christina Ryan, so I think he got away with that one. I think the contact was to a part of the car that could take the hit, and it's in the end Martin Meany who ended up losing the wing. And oh goodness, another incident from Mo Perry, it looks like, has come through. Or is this the same incident we saw last time? No, it's not. It's the same corner, though. It's the second apex that catches Mo out this time into that barrier. And I think, unfortunately, that is going to be day done for the 54. So a couple of awkward incidents through that final chicane. It does tell you how important it is to get that sequence right, and why Tucker is staying off those curbs just a little bit through there.
Quickly approaching the halfway mark here, Tucker Sawyer leads by 2 seconds over Rudy Valentin. George Ward and Christina Ryan separated by 0.6 of a second. That's the battle that we're looking at right now. Christina Ryan approaching. Both drivers pitted on lap 15. Matter of fact, Liv, Rudy Valentin being scored as the leader. What happened to Tucker Sawyer? Rudy Valentin, Tucker Sawyer on the 23rd lap, Liv. Watch Tucker. He's going to make a mistake into turn number 1. Keep your eyes on the 19.
Oh, way too deep.
Sails through the corner. He's got to slow it down, and he hands the lead to Rudy Valentin. Tucker is still ahead of Nick Pressey by 3 positions. It's not all doom and gloom, but he is human after all.
Yeah, taking the Connor Zilic line there through the first chicane at Portland, and has given up the lead of the race, just caught out on the brakes there. He still has an intact car. He's still within a second of Rudy and has that push-pass advantage to try and make it back through. But again, from this position, he would only gain about 10 to 12 points on Nicholas Pressey. It'd be 40 points for second place finish, plus the bonuses he's picked up for the pole position and the laps led. Pressey would pick up 30 points for 5th place. And it would be so difficult then for Sawyer to pick up the championship. He'd need to win Chicagoland and hope for a very early crash for the 94. Tucker needs to get this move back done. He's got more than 3 minutes pushed past left, but he has to get it done on a very difficult track to overtake.
So we're now 24 laps into our 56 lap event. Rudy Valentin leading by 1.2 seconds over Tucker Sawyer, and perhaps Nick Pressey just might smell blood in the water. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's not up to Pressey is the thing. This is crucial for his title host, but he's 30 seconds back from this group. He's had those incidents that mean he can't attack and put pressure on Tucker Sawyer directly. He's in fact got to try and fend off this group of Ward and Ryan, who are about 5 seconds in the rearview mirror right now and fighting for 6th position. Pressey's just on a hope that things go wrong at the front of the field so that he can minimize the points loss to Tucker Sawyer. Late move there from Christina, just trying to get in the head of George Ward. Wasn't ever a chance to actually get up the inside. And the Circuit's not fazed by that one. Has been racing long enough this season that despite the rookie next to the name, he has plenty of experience not by on that one.
Sawyer 3/4 of a second now behind Rudy Valentin and starting to close that gap. Christina Ryan with a similar gap back to George Ward. That is, again, 6th that we're watching right now. 1st place about to be hotly contested. Drivers coming in on lap 15, lap 16. That means we're going to have pit stops again in roughly 4 to 5 laps. Matter of fact, Nick Pressey is in, Liv.
Pressey is in. This is with 30 laps to go. So he is able to make it on one more stop from here, but he's pitting right as the window opens, putting himself off cycle. And there's a little bit of danger. He could end up getting blue flagged as he exits the pits here, potentially in the way of these race leaders. He's allowed to fight for his lead lap, but it's not a spot you necessarily want to be, and you won't have the chances. He is going to fall 1 lap down behind Valentin, Sawyer, and might get stuck behind Eli Sasek here as he moves onto the primary compound tire. So this is when he tries to get that dispatched. Falls off the lead lap, but with 1 more pit stop served. And at the front of the field, it is Sawyer, 1.2 seconds behind Rudy Valentin. A great run through the opening sector there.
So 0.6 is the gap between George Ward and Christina Ryan. Well, almost 0.7 now. They still stay stuck together. Tucker Sawyer's in 2nd. And like you say, he's lost that closeness, that he was closing in on Rudy Valentin, and now is no longer the case. Maybe he's preparing for the next stint. Not sure.
Yeah, it is so tricky to stay close at a track like this, although Christina Ryan's giving it a shot here, right? Putting pressure on George Ward for what is currently 5th position, would turn into 6th. The dirty area is just so tricky through, especially that second sector, that staying close for the attack is so difficult, and the straights don't give you that much time to force a move. So that might be why Sawyer is struggling to stay within that 1 second window of Rudy Valentin. Christina Ryan is close now, needs to try and capitalize, while she has it is going to be on that push to pass for just a moment, but bats off of it. And as we approach the halfway point of this race, it is going to be Rudy Valentin leading the way after a mistake from Tucker Sawyer a few laps ago. Top two opt to stay out for the time being. They are not going to pit just yet. I think maybe looking to run the tank out, but Valentin did pit first last time by. He might do the same, and Tucker Sawyer may be hoping that the overcut with those warm tyres can be enough to get him that track position back.
So Rudy Valentin, 1.3 seconds back to Tucker Sawyer. 4/10 between Christina Ryan and George Ward. Chris Ryan really trying to lay the pressure onto George right before pit stops as well. A good time to force a mistake. George taking the wide line out of the final corner. Chris Ryan's there. Liv, she goes to the outside. She barely avoids contact with the wall. She will have almost the advantage. Cuts to the inside line. Ryan now trying to fend off George Ward. Who will outbrake whom? Ryan on the slower, tighter line. George Ward tries the crossover. He's going on the outside into this 3rd and 4th corner. They almost touch, and Chris Ryan still can't say go away, George. Liv, how about this? Go on, George. Go on, George. And he's got her now.
Did he get that
Come
back through turn
on, George
4?
Ward. Go on, son. Go on. I don't care what, maybe it's recency bias, but what a battle. That's one of the passes of this season. Come on, George Ward. What a move.
Incredible stuff. Christina Ryan's got the run now.
She's not
Is she
done.
going to go for it then? No.
Go on, Christina.
Has to back
Take another
out.
bite out of George. That
That's not a
move started
two-line
right
corner.
here. A minute ago when George ran wide, Christina, I tell you though, that was excellent execution by Christina, because she almost made contact with that tire barrier and she just squeezed through. And I'll tell you, what's amazing with that is that they gave each other all the room that was expected and nothing more. They did not give each other any sort of advantage. They raced so hard. Rudy Valentin, Eli Sasek in the pits now. What a fight, Liv. That was awesome.
It was incredible, and that is the sort of racing you can have when you have that respect for each other on the track and respect for making sure you leave that room. That is a battle that could have ended in disaster 2 or 3 times, but they do a fantastic job holding onto it. Rudy Valentin exits the pits now and has opted for another set of alternate compound tires, so we'll have to go to the primaries to finish out this race. Falls in just behind Lila Zir, who is yet to stop. Tucker Sawyer, crucially, is on the push to pass. He knows this is a critical in-lap. Take advantage of the warm tires while Valentin is still trying to get heat in to those fresh tires. Now he pits. How good is the pit entry? Aggressive, committed, exactly what he needed to do. We'll see where everyone else cycles through in this one. Ryan and Ward both in pit lane at the same time as well. They're going to exit in just the same order that they entered. And as Ward spins on the same puddle that caught up Marcamini.
Oh no,
the puddle that
George.
caused contact to George Ward in the last stop. He recovers it, and it's not going to be an unsafe exit, fortunately, but it is going to be a few seconds lost now to Christina Ryan. And a fantastic duel before the stops ends in heartbreak. Now Tucker Sawyer exits the pit lane. He's back ahead of Rudy Valentin. Lilac Zir stays out one more lap, but he has the cold tires. Can Valentin make his way through now? It's a critical moment for the 78. And it's a slide from Sawyer. Slides
Pucker
around into the wet grass, holds on, doesn't find the wall, but loses a position. Loses another one now to Eli Sassett on the way out the pits. And Sawyer falls to a net 3rd place while trying to defend that position on those cold tyres. A disaster 10 laps or so for the championship hopeful.
Liv, he has handed Nick Pressey a lifeline. If Nick Pressey didn't already have one hand on the trophy, he certainly does now. He might even be putting some toes on that trophy as well. Lilac Zier is in. Nick Pressey's within 2 positions to Tucker Sawyer, so Rudy Valentin is going to be your new leader. Rain is becoming more likely as the minutes drag on. There is a very, very short bit of rain that is now forming. It's almost like the 2 bands of rain are getting closer to each other as they approach the racetrack, and what has become somewhat likely that it will rain has now become very likely that it's going to rain. Expect within the next half an hour we might see raindrops.
I mean, that is the hope, I think, for Tucker Sawyer at this point. He has now gone as the primary compound tire, so he in some ways wants rain at the end of the race so he has a chance to do something different and catch up. But he also wants to be able to use those alternate tires at the end when it's raining to gain an advantage. So as part of the saving grace for Tucker Sawyer, he has this faster tire, or the slower tire I should say, out of the way. Rudy Valentin will have to finish the race on the primes, and that could give Tucker Sawyer a lifeline to try and charge back. But it's 8 seconds that he trails Rudy Valentin by, and he's 1.5 seconds behind Eli Sassett, who is on the same strategy, who has those primary compound tires on as well. So he's got to make those on-track overtakes, and we mentioned how tricky it is to get those moves done. Even Christina Ryan couldn't clear George Ward in the end through that first sector.
Just outside the final 20 laps remaining, 7.8 seconds is the gap between Rudy Valentin and Eli Sassett. Rudy could be coming away with a win here. Has he won this year? I feel like Rudy's won this year.
I don't think so. I can double check. Right now,
please do.
Sawyer
You're probably
is
right.
behind Bryce Sosa, who just had an incident and is currently 1 lap down. Gets them through a very tricky section of the racetrack, and to confirm, it has not been a win for Rudy Valentin. Has 2 pole positions on the season over at Belle Isle and at Watkins Glen, but hasn't been able to convert either of them. Unfortunately, his only Champ Car win, I believe, came back at Rudskogen? No, came at Suzuka. Back in season 3. So looking for his 2nd career victory in Champ Car and playing a massive spoiler on Tucker Sawyer's championship hopes. We will see whether he is able to complete that charge, or whether maybe those primary tires might catch him out. We saw the outlet from Sawyer was tricky, and Valentin still has that to serve. Let's have a look back at an incident here for Bryce Sosa. It's what brought him. Is it going to be the same thing? Not quite.
Turn 1.
But spins it, I think, trying
Turn
to get
1.
wide to let George Ward through, potentially. Gets caught out, as George Ward as well has an incident down at this final chicane for the 36. A little bit wide onto that runoff area, and skates wide, and stops before the barrier. Lucky escape for the number 36, but he is now 1 lap down and 16 seconds behind Christina Ryan, unfortunately. Has to hold on to this one to bring home 7th place. But Tucker Sawyer, with 20 laps to go, has to start getting these moves done. He has Eli Sassett in his sights, less than a second up the road on equal tires. He needs this move if he wants a chance at charging back at Rudy Valentin.
Inside the final 20 laps, 1-9 at the line. Tucker Sawyer leading 24 laps of tonight's race, and he sits in the third position, 0.6 of a second off of, or ahead, I should say. No, forgive me. Where is he right now? He's right behind Eli Sasek. Sorry about that. So Tucker's within within 3/4 of a second to Eli Sasek. Rudy Valentin is 8.5 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. He's doing unbelievably well, which is fantastic. So, I mean, we still have one more pit stop to go. Drivers are going to be coming down within the next 7 to 8 laps. We could have rain approaching the racetrack. It actually is going to become very likely that rain does hit this racetrack, but how heavy is going to be the question. This penultimate race has been so good to watch.
Yeah, it really has. Magruder skates into the barrier, trying to turn some additional laps, couldn't quite get it done, unfortunately. This is going to be difficult for Tucker Sawyer, and part of the problem with it being 24 laps led for the number 19 is that if Valentin brings this one home, he's going to actually have more laps led, and that's a 2-point bonus that would go the way of the 78 and not for Tucker Sawyer, who needs it desperately. So getting the win is important, of course, but losing that bonus is also going to be absolutely devastating for the 19. They are dropping behind Valentin's, we'd expect, because they're on the slower tyre. They're losing only a couple of tenths per lap currently with that tyre delta. But tricky situation for the number 19 car. Needs any advantage that he can find as we look at an incident a little bit further back for George Ward once again, who is now a little ways behind Bryce Sosa, and this is why takes that as a lit line as well. Just straight on, can't quite get it hooked in and has to go into the runoff and bleed a massive slowdown, and there goes 7th place speeding off into the distance. So George Ward now back in a fight, but not the one he would have wanted to have. And there's the rain as Tucker Sawyer approaches Eli Sasek. Rain down at turn 8. And also down at 10, 11, and 12. And how heavy is this shower going to be? Is it going to force drivers onto wet tyres? And how are these drivers going to handle it on primary compound tyres that are just net colder and colder?
I'm going to complain about this radar right now because as I put up the rain, I promise you, at 2 p.m., which was 11 minutes ago sim time, the chance of rain was 0. Now the chance of rain is 100, and 4 minutes from now, the chance of rain is 14%. So I am no meteorologist, but I'm also going to just go ahead and complain about this radar that is well behind, because right now my radar shows an entirely gray racetrack, meaning there's no rain whatsoever, and rain will approach in the next few moments. So we'll go ahead and lodge an informal complaint to anybody who cares to listen. This radar is broken. 17 laps to go. It will be 16 when they look at the spray already. They cannot go on these tires this much longer. They've got to come in at some point, surely.
Well, we have seen this situation at Mid-Ohio, for example, and the wet tyres hold on so much longer than you would. The dry tyres hold on a lot better than you expect. If they're up to temperature, and with the cars circulating, it could stay in dry conditions for a while. But it's a cold track,
I'm going to interrupt
down
here.
At 68 Fahrenheit, so that is where the rain tends to kick in that little bit quicker.
Liv.
Drivers already a second or two off the pace from what they were running on the fastest laps.
Liv, you say with the cars circulating, are you telling me the vortex theory is real?
No, it's not. We can see the rain, so it's not the vortex theory, but it's displacing that water as it lands, keeping that racing line drier for as long as possible. It's why they often run under light rain and keep the cars in caution in something like NASCAR, because they want to keep the track drying without having to bring the jet dryers out. It's a similar thing with these cars as well. In fact, the the downforce might help even more. Tucker Sawyer has a run here on Eli Sasek. Is he going to be able to go for it down to turn number 1 where it still looks dry? Has to back out of it, and Eli Sasek will throw it through and hold on to second place, and the rain reappears here at turns 2 and 3. It's a very patchy shower, and I think that might be the saving grace for these dry compound tires right now. It's not even raining everywhere, and as it blows across, the track needs a couple of minutes of rain at each spot potentially.
Well, it's very possible that it could be raining in one corner of the racetrack and not the other. It is, what, 13, 14 laps to go, so drivers certainly they're within enough to make it to the end of this race. But if they pitted on lap 30, certainly this will be the final pit stop of the race. But who's going to be the first person to go wet? Who's going to be the first person to be brave and stay dry?
Yeah, this is really tough for anyone who has a stop coming up. Nicholas Pressey, does he pit early? So he needs to pit now to change tyres, and it's a question of what does he opt for? Does he go for the primaries or the alternates? We just saw George Ward get passed by Sosa down into turn number 10. Tucker Sawyer still can't get close in that dirty air to Eli Sasek. We saw the same problem with Valentin in that second stint. Pressey has to pit. Pressey has to pit, and he's going to pit now. So this is going to be a crucial question. Where does Pressey decide to go on those tyres, primes or alternates, as the lead group flies by? Because this could be data for the rest of the field. The fact that he's pit off cycle. Let's see what the decision is. We've got to keep one eye on Tucker Sawyer as well, the other protagonist in this championship fight.
Trying his hardest to stay in this championship fight. Nick Pressey is in that 6th position. He's coming out right now again on cold tires.
He's on wets.
If Nick Pressey, he's on wets. He's on wet tires. Is this the right move?
I don't think so.
He's going to be he's already sliding. He needs to be extremely careful here because while he is in 8th, Mattias Marcomini is almost 2 laps behind Nick. So if Nick does make a mistake, there's not that much to lose for him. Meanwhile, Tucker Sawyer cannot afford another mistake because Nick Pressey is closer to Tucker Sawyer than Marcomini is to Nick Pressey, and Marcomini still has to come into the pit. Does he? Yeah, well, no, Marcomini might be good to the end.
Now, except for Pressey.
Who's this?
Is wide. Holds on to it.
He's making up the racetrack off the final corner, and he keeps it together.
He does, and that could be a sign that the track's getting more difficult. But the front runners are still running 101s in these conditions. You'd expect the crossover to be about 10% slower than a racing lap, and so a 106 really is where you would really look at the lap times and decide that the dry tyres aren't working anymore. Of course, Pressey was back into a corner. He didn't have a choice. He had to make a pit stop. And it was just a call of what tyre to go in for. If he went dries and then the track suddenly turned into a deluge, he would have had to pit another time, lose about 30 seconds on that tyre change. He's instead taken a gamble now, is betting that the rain will get heavier and that drivers will need dries eventually, as Eli Sasek peels into the pits. Rudy Valentin peels into the pits as well. What do they go for? Valentin was on alternates. These were the preferred tyres. He either has to choose a primary compound tyre or a wet weather tyre. We'll see what the 78 goes for. This is crucial to this race. And he goes alternates. Primaries, he stays on the dries. Eli Sasek also, goes to the wet weather tyres as they get fitted back on. So split strategies for the top 2 in this one. And we will see what Tucker Sawyer responds with. Does he trust Valentin or does he trust Sasek? And importantly, if he does pit and get onto a set of alternates, as he's able to do, and Valentin wasn't, Can he use that superior grip in these slick conditions to make up that 8-second gap and try and take this race win?
10 laps to go next time by. Tucker Sawyer's in, Christina Ryan's in, Rudy Valentin, Eli Sasek, Lilac Zier still out. And Lilac Zier already slow. You can see the cars that are just suffering out there on these wet tires. Rudy Valentin and Eli Sasek, surely you can expect them in, especially Eli Sasek, who's on the primary compound. Tucker Sawyer is leading this race in the pits. Does Valentin stay out? He does. An extremely bold call for Rudy Valentin. This is either going to win him or cost him the race. Tucker Sawyer now out. He's got to be careful. He is in second. Eli Sasek, Lilac Zier, Liv. They're getting really tight behind the leaders.
They are, and Sawyer has gone onto the wets, has gained 5 seconds on Sasek. So Sasek jumped too early onto these wet weather tires. There's cars still out on these slick tires, and Lilac is getting held up right now by Eli Sasek. So the wets aren't up to temperature. They might not be having the best grip right now. And Lilac's going to go for the move on these alternates because they have good grip in these conditions. But how much longer are these tires going to be good for? And when Lilac has to make that stop, as do Bryce Sosa and George Ward behind, are these tires actually going to be the best call, or do you need wet weather tires to get you through to the end of this race? There's only 9 laps to go as we come through. Lilac still thinks these tires have the advantage. Rudy Valentin set a 1:03 last time by on primaries. It's not a good lap time, but it is faster than what drivers on wets are able to manage, because they're in the 105, in the 106s.
9:43, 9:58, and just the seconds continue to climb. It is 11.6 seconds, well, 11 and a half actually, as I'm looking at it, from Rudy Valentin back to Tucker Sawyer. Just huge gaps here, and Valentin still out on what is an ever wet racetrack, although the rain will not last forever. However, I don't think it matters if the rain is going to last forever or not. You can see it's already lightening up, but the track is still going to be wet, and Valentin has extreme control over the car. We're looking at a very slow George Ward, currently running in 8th. Tucker Sawyer's in 2nd. Nick Pressey, on the other hand, is 2.6 seconds behind Christina Ryan in 6th.
Yeah, and this is crucial because all of these cars are on the wets. Sawyer, Sasek, Pressey, Ward, Ryan, all those cars that have pit went onto the wet with the tires. Valentin is on the dries, and they are faster right now, but for how much longer? What does Lilac Zier go for? Strategy extraordinaire, typically. She opts for another set of alternate tires, or potentially might have actually stayed on the same set to take advantage of the heat that's in them. So Valentin and Zier are on the faster tire right now, but it's only faster by about 1.5 seconds per lap. It's a big gain, but if the rain continues, it could flip the track. Down at turn 4, it's not raining anymore, but it is raining down at turn 5. We'll see whether the track finds that crossover. Sawyer needs it to, because he has 13 seconds to gain if he wants any chance at taking this race win and really taking the fight to Nicholas Pressey.
7 laps will become 6 when they cross the line. I'm still just astonished that Rudy Valentin hasn't slipped once. If he manages to win this race, I want to hear exactly how hard it was to drive this race car in that rain. Tucker Sawyer's in 2nd, trying to gain as much as he can on Nick Pressey. Right now, the status quo is lovely. Bryce Sosa, Nick Pressey's teammate, I don't think he's going to have any reason to try and overtake his boss, 1 position ahead of him. George Ward, pretty far off, so it would take a Nick Pressey mistake at this point to lose more time on the racetrack. Christina Ryan's in 5th. She's fighting for her very championship life, which may come to a close within the next 6 laps. She has every reason to hold off and fight off Nick Pressey. It is 5 laps to go. Rudy Valentin on the dry primary compound, Lilac Zier on the alternate softer compound. Almost everybody else, Liv, is on wets.
They are, and the entire top 8 has made what could be a fuel stop to the end. The question is just whether they can make it on this tyre. Tucker Sawyer's found time. He's now on a 4.7 on those wet weather tyres, so they're up to temperature. They are finding more grip. He's got to be careful not to overheat them, of course, but he lost only 9/10 of a second to Rudy Valentin that time by. There's still hope that he can find some pace on these tyres, but it's just such a big gap to Valentin. It's 15 seconds that he needs to make up in 4.5 laps. And Valentin is not showing any sign of slowing down on those tyres as Christina Ryan gets out of the way of Tucker Sawyer to go 1 lap down. Still holds on to 5th place, remarkably.
So, 16 seconds is that gap from first to second. I don't see the status quo changing here. Really, I think we're just looking for drivers to not make mistakes. The rain will slowly come to a close, but the rain has done its damage, and it's not going to make any lick of a difference now. Christina Ryan chasing down, is that Tucker Sawyer right ahead of Christina Ryan, but obviously there's a lapse difference there. The rain, it's weird to say, but the rain really did change everything.
It did. It gave everyone a massive question. And in the end, Tucker did get past Eli Sassett through that cycle. I think Sassett went that little bit too early onto a wet weather tyre and really got put in a bad position. But you can see Tristina got passed by Mark Amini, who's another lap further behind her, but is on a dry tyre, a primary compound tyre. So that shows that the dries are still the preferred race tyre for now, but the margin is getting narrower and narrower, and I'm still seeing drops of rain. Just because the tyre's fast doesn't mean it'll stay fast, and it also doesn't mean that a driver can bring it home without a disastrous incident. The cars on wets are on the safe tyre. That is for sure, that is for certain, and a driver like Rudy Valentin, that's not Rudy Valentin, and Rudy Valentin, who set a 104.3 last time by did gain 1.4 seconds, still needs to keep all 4 corners on that thing and keep it on the racetrack if he wants to claim this race win, and that's easier said than done in these conditions.
4 laps to go. Rudy Valentin about to make it 3, and he's putting a whipping on the field here. Tucker Sawyer just needs to not do anything wrong, essentially. 3 laps to go, and Valentin strategically staying off all those puddles. You can see him avoiding it like the plague. He knows exactly what to do and where not to drive. Bryce Saucier proved me wrong, by the way. He absolutely passed the life out of his teammate Nick Pressey some laps ago, so I was wrong. Bryce is in 6th. Nick Pressey is in 7th. George Ward is 31 seconds behind Nick Pressey. We'll see how Pressey and Saucier interact in these next 2.5 laps. But it's setting up a spicy finish for the championship.
It is. Saucier did get past Pressey on those dry tyres. Is now trying to chase down Christina Ryan, who, of course, is still in contention, though I think doesn't gain enough points on Pressey here and would be knocked out of the title fight as things stand. Saucier wants to guarantee that and get this move done if he can. Also, of course, wants the top 5 for himself and has the tyres to do it, but that's a difficult section to get an overtake done. This is our closest fight on track right now. Valentin just has to bring it home and has a huge margin at his disposal to tiptoe it around. But Saucier and Ryan fighting for 5th place on different tyres, primaries versus wets, on a track that is very close to the crossover. Can Saucier get it done here? The dry tyres are faster in a straight line, and he's going to try and use that down into turn number 1. But Christina covers it off well, has the inside for turn 2. It's going to be under attack here around the outside through 3 and 4, and the launch off the corner from Bryce Sosa is going to be enough, and he slots in to complete that move for 5th place. Great running on these wet conditions on a dry tyre. A little bit of a wiggle out of the corner, and he's just trying to hold on to this 5th position right now. But Rudy Valentin comes to the white flag, does a little bit of weaving. It's not quite the time for that. He's got 19 seconds to defend from Tucker Sawyer to take his first Champ Car win in nearly 3 years. This would be a huge statement for Rudy Valentin and a blow to the chances that Tucker Sawyer has for the championship. Valentin just has to hold on now.
No mistakes. From car 78, Tucker Sawyer adrift by 20 seconds nearby. Eli Sasek further adrift as well, and the attrition continues. It is not as rain-soaked as the entire race has been. What a change, what a drastic change from this race. But one constant has remained from practice to qualifying to now, is that Rudy Valentin has been on his job. No one will question how hard he worked for this. One final corner and a rain-soaked straightaway to go. Win number 1 is in the books for Rudy. He wins the penultimate race of the 7th season of the Champ Car World Series. Tucker Sawyer now with Colin McDonough behind him coming through these final corners. No mistakes to make for Tucker, and he goes into the final round with the slimmest of hopes. It's not over yet. Tucker Sawyer with a silver medal has one more shot, and he needs a bit of luck to get to Brooklyn's Nick Pressey, who will come out of the final corner. He will cross the line in the 7th position. Nick Pressey will go into the title with a more slim margin than what he came into Portland with. The championship fight will go to the final round next week at iRacing's Chicagoland. Rudy ain't done. He's going to keep burning some donuts, kicking up whatever smoke he can. We're going to catch up with our podium. We'll be back for interviews in just a moment. Back at iRacing's Portland after a fun race to watch, passing all up and down the grid, but one performance especially by one guy who figured out that it wasn't quite the right time for wet tires. Mr. Rudy Valentin in the number 78 with his first ABN Champ Car World Series victory. Rudy, you knew what everybody else didn't, and what Tucker Sawyer claimed at the end of the race. Wets was not the move. Congratulations on your first win.
Is this? I think I have a win in this series. I'm not sure, but if this is my first win, hell yeah. Or heck yeah, sorry. Well, the decision came because I kind of was forced to make a decision between going the primes and then or hope the track went changed to wets, because I had not used the primaries at that point. So kind of got scared there, and I was like, you know what? I'll just stick it out here in the rain and see what happens, and it ended up working out.
The first time I'm noticing that your sim driver wears a Juan Pablo Montoya helmet, so bonus points for the JPM as well. And not the IndyCar helmet, the McLaren helmet. Love that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we thought it was your first win. It may have you might have others. No idea. Long story.
I'll hop into update. First win this season, second win overall, with a win back in
second win
2022.
overall. There it is. First win this
2023
season.
Suzuka race, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to defend this next week at Chicagoland. Completely different format. You gonna win it?
It's still in the air whether or not I will be in attendance for that one.
I hope you will be in attendance. It's going to be a big championship celebration, and you deserve to be there. Congratulations on that win, and hopefully we see you in a week's time. Liv, you've got tonight's silver medalist.
I sure do. Our second place finisher tonight, Tucker Sawyer, in the number 19, and leading for most of the first half, but then a couple of mistakes dealt you out of that fight. You gamble on those wet weather tires to try and make it back through, but it didn't work out. What was the thought, especially in that final pit stop cycle, on what tire to choose for the final run?
Well, me and Eli, apparently we both like gambling. Obviously didn't work out, but we were in that final sector, and it was about time for his pit stop. And then when we saw quite a bit of spray coming from the back of the car, and we were pretty sure that it was time to pit because we were also losing grip. But yeah, just if the rain came about 10 minutes earlier, because like right at the end of the race, it started affecting pretty much everybody. But if it came earlier, it would have helped me out a lot. It was like I was begging for it.
Yeah, a very, very tricky call indeed. The job, in some ways, was done. You finished 5 positions ahead of Nicholas Pressey, which keeps the championship hopes alive heading into Chicagoland. But it is going to be a gap of 38 points as you enter. You need a win. You need your first oval win next week over in Joliet, Illinois. What do you need to do to make that happen?
Lots of luck, some resties, and an insane amount of luck. I do own that track. I had to make sure I own it. Might have to do some practice because I'm not good at ovals. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to send it. Hope for the best.
All right. Well, I will wish you the best of luck for that one. Say anything you want to say to the fans before you head out. Now is the time.
Shout out my mom and dad. I know they're watching. Yeah, thank you all for the support. Shout out my friends that are watching. And shout out Eli Sasek for being my awesome teammate. And everybody behind the scenes doing the broadcasting. Y'all are awesome. And, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck next time.
Yeah.
That was our second place finisher, Tucker Sawyer. Rick James can pass on those well wishes to our third place finisher in the number 9, Eli Sasek.
When's the last time we saw Eli Sasek on the podium? A third place finish for Eli in the penultimate race of the season, heading into next week's finale at Chicagoland. Eli, you have a good time out there in the rain?
It was pretty fun. I don't think it was as fun as Mid-Ohio, but it was still pretty fun.
It seemed like there was a lot of attrition after the rain came as well. What was the most difficult part, just especially holding on to the car and making sure you didn't fall off? Was the grip the hardest part, or was it adapting to cold tires?
I'd say the hardest was like trying to decide like what the tire was to go on. I think the actually slicks were a lot faster in the wet. It did not rain enough for the wets to work, and so I was quite struggling with grip in terms of like cornering and whatnot. It was just like had to make an educated guess, and that's kind of one of the things I hate is that we don't have access to a radar in the actual car, so it's really hard to tell what kind of rain is coming. It just says rain and how much. It's very difficult when in real life teams would have that information and make those decisions, but it's only one person. So that part was kind of hard, and then just like the overall grip was kind of low. I was very surprised that the primes and alternates were still faster than the wets in that kind of area, but I guess it kind of makes sense. There wasn't enough rain. It was just pretty light rain that kind of just slightly coated the track. It wasn't really much loss in terms of grip, maybe a few seconds. So that was just kind of the most difficult part, was deciding whether or not the wets were going to be worth it, and I took the risk, and thankfully didn't lose any positions because of that risk.
Next week at Chicagoland, can we count you on being there for the finale?
I will be there.
Fantastic, man. Congratulations on that podium, Eli. We'll see you in a week's time.
Thank you.
Liv, let's go through the running order here, and let's get some numbers headed into next week's finale.
For sure. These are your final results here for the Cascadia Grand Prix at Portland. Rudy Valentin from second position comes through to take the race win, with Tucker Sawyer, the inverse in that spot, will finish in second. Eli Sasek rounds out the podium with Lilac Zir, the final car on the lead lap in the end, a short lap, meaning a lot of lap traffic throughout this one. Bryce Sosa, Christina Ryan, and championship leader Nicholas Pressy all finish one lap down, with George Ward and Martinez Marcamini ending up -2. McDonough, Mo Perry, Lily Sharp, Emma Kruger, and Mitch Semedo, all drivers with significant incidents. They will finish way down the order in the end of this one. As for those championship numbers, again, we need to wait for official calculations, but it is looking like it's going to be 38 points, the difference between Nicholas Pressy and Tucker Sawyer as we head into Chicagoland next week. Christina Ryan only gained 2 points on Pressy in this one, needed to gain 6 to stay in contention, and so it is going to be a duel in Joliet, Illinois between the number 94 and the number 18, with a 38-point head start for Pressy in the final round.
Well, those are the numbers. And we'll find out what happens in a week's time at an oval where they're going to go 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide, and anybody can be taken out at any time. This championship is by no means guaranteed, and we're going to find out real soon just what it takes to win a title. Nicholas Pressy versus Tucker Sawyer next week, right here on ABN Studios, to decide the Season 7 Champ Car title. Next week, 8 Eastern. Don't miss that championship fight. For Liv Hayward, I'm Rick James. Thank you so much for coming to have some fun with us. We're going to do it again one more time in just 7 days. And until that next race, everybody, please stay safe, take care of each other. We'll see you all around the corner.